Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I'm a little bit spooky, and today I want to talk about contour, bronze, blush, and highlight placement and how I like to put them on my face, and hopefully I can give you some tips and tricks and maybe some inspiration of something to try out on your own and see how you like it. There's no definitive rules with this. This is all going to be very subjective based on your bone structure, your skin tone, your preferences, what you like, what you want to do. It's all up to you, but we're going to talk a little bit about like the differences between contouring, bronzing, blush, and what they can do for your face and how I like to implement them to create kind of a seamless, structured look without actually changing my bone structure. I'm not going to try to give myself a facelift or anything like that. I'm not trying to accomplish a look of a snatched nose or anything specific. My approach is enhancing my natural bone structure, and that's kind of what I go for if I'm doing makeup on other people. It's just enhance what they have and bring out their beauty, because I think everyone is beautiful the way they are, and I like people's uniqueness in their bone structures, and I think we should celebrate that and not try to look like a face chart that you might see online. I think contouring, highlighting, blushing, bronzing, and all that is about bringing out what you think is your best, what makes you feel good, and it's pretty simple as far as that goes. So yeah, I'm going to kind of throw a lot of information at you in this video. It's just kind of my thoughts and perspective on contouring, bronzing, and what I like to do and my kind of techniques for it. And I'm going to go through a lot of steps and kind of do the most today, but it's going to be where you can edit out what you don't want to fool with, what you don't think is necessary for you. Just skip it. I'm just kind of showing you all the things and how I like to do it. So yeah, I hope this video is helpful and interesting and you can get something from it, just some inspiration from it. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns of when it comes to the bronzing, contouring, highlighting of it all, blush placement, drop in the comments down below and we can talk all about it, and I can continue doing some more videos in this vein. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this super kind of in-depth, chatty, long, educational video of kind of my approach to contouring, blush, bronze, highlight 101 type of thing. I initially was gonna maybe break this down into like a video about each thing, but I realized I kind of can't do that. They all work in tandem together. They all play off one another, and they're kind of hard to separate to me. It's one thing in the end. So let's start with contour, because that's usually where I start when it comes to the cheek stuff. I have thrown on a little layer of foundation already. Now, sometimes I do underpaint, or well, most times actually I underpaint and do the cream steps underneath the foundation. I have a whole video on underpainting. I will link right here. But for today, for just this video, I'm going to just do it over the foundation. It just gives a little bit of a different effect, a little more skin-like, a little more natural, if you will, and a little more subtle if you underpaint. So let's start with contour. Contour is meant to add shadow to the face. It makes things recede. It makes things minimize and look a little smaller, a little more snatched, if you will. It can just enhance your features and maybe bring out cheekbones, sharpen up the jawline, that kind of thing. It adds structure to the face, basically. And you can use it to add a little bit of lift here and there, depending on your placement. Now, when it comes to contour for me, I do like to kind of snatch the cheekbones a little bit. I have rather large cheekbones as it is, and a very strong shadow already. This right here, that's just my bone structure, and it does do that kind of skull shape thing where it goes down no matter what size I am, oddly. How thin my face gets or how full my face gets, I have that. That's just the way my face is made because I have very large cheekbones thanks to my mom. Pretty full right here, high cheekbones, and a fairly prominent brow bone, and a flat forehead, and a rather large jaw. As far as like my jaw muscles themselves, they're quite big because I clench and grind my teeth a lot, and have yet to find someone locally who can do the Botox in the jaw, because my goodness would I love to have that. It would save me a lot of pain. When it comes to contour, I'm not trying to change my face. If you want to do that, that is totally up to you. I personally, my approach with contouring is enhancing what's already there. I'm not trying to change structure or create new cheekbones or anything like that. I just want to work with what I got and enhance it and own it, because I like my face. Not everyone may agree, but I like what makes me look different from everybody else. I like my uniqueness, and I kind of just play into it and embrace who I am. So when it comes to the shadowy contours, I like to focus it on the lower part of the face. I like to focus it at the cheekbone, underneath the cheekbone here, to enhance this bone structure that I have. Jawline, a little bit around the nose. I don't like to change the shape of my nose either. I actually really like the shape of my nose. It's a little crooked. I've got a big hump in it. I love my nose. It is the nose passed down through my ancestors. I love my nose. Save my cheekbones. I can look at pictures going back through my family line to like the 1800s, so like when photography was invented, and see my bone structure, and I love that. I can directly see it in like my great grandmother, and I think that's really cool. I like to keep the shadowiness to the nose area to enhance that structure here and here, and then when it comes to bronze, that's when I'll tackle the forehead and add warmth to the face. Now, bronzer can offer structure to the face. You can use it as a kind of a bronzer. That is definitely a thing, and depending on your skin tone, that may suit you more than just going for that purely shadowy look. There is some fantastic contouring products on the market now that suit multiple skin tones, that you don't have to just go with like something that looks kind of taupey or gray. Because when I'm contouring, I tend to go for colors like this. This is the Fenty Cream Bronzer in Amber. Now, a lot of brands will make something that is shadowy to mimic multiple skin tones. Make sure it's not ashy on you, because even on me being very fair, if I over apply this, it will go kind of ashy looking, but I want the shadowiness from it, if that makes sense. But you can also use bronzers to still create that structure, and I think that is very effective and beautiful on warmer skin tones, like our more olive skin tones. That can be a little bit more suited depending on your undertone. And of course, you have to pick your bronzers and contours very carefully. That is a tricky thing to do. A lot of trial and error there, believe me. I have used some pretty poorly selected shades on myself. Yeah, it happens. But you can also add structure with bronzer. It's just going to be maybe a little bit of a softer effect for the most part, but it generally brings in just more warmth and kind of a healthy look to the skin. I utilize both. There are days where I just use bronzer to add this a little bit of structure back into the face when I'm not trying to fully like chisel out anything or just be a little more casual. And you also have those products that can kind of fall between a bronzer and a contour, where they have a little bit of both going on. There's warmth in them, but they also have a little bit of shadowiness. Something like the Film Star Bronze and Glow from Charlotte Tilbury. This bronzer in here, which marketed as a bronzer, can also add a lot of structure to the face and contour because it has a coolness in it as well, and just a little bit of a taupey shadowiness with that hint of warmth. So it's a really effective product for kind of doing both. And I mean, you can just kind of pick whatever tone suits you, obviously. This is pretty subjective to the person and to your skin tone. I just kind of do what I think looks best. A really effective product, though, that kind of takes some of the guesswork out of all this would be something like the Patrick Ta Cream Contour Powder Bronze Duo. I have it in She's Statuesque. This comes in a beautiful range of shades. Something for everybody. This is the lightest one. And in this, you have a cream that is that more shadowy tone, but it's not ashy. If you compare it to the Fenty and Amber, you can see it has a little more warmth in it, but it still adds shadow and shape to the face. It's just a slightly different tone, but they accomplish the same thing. And you have the powder bronzer in here that you can use to bring in the warmth. So it's a super effective product and kind of a 2-in-1, so you don't really have to think about it as much. It makes it a little bit easier. NYX makes some fantastic contour products, by the way, at the drugstore. And e.l.f. e.l.f. comes in strong with these right here. They're little halo beauty wands in the contour tones. They have really lovely shades. They make one in that super cool shadowy taupe shade for us ghosts like myself. And they also have some warmer shades that you can use for bronzing, which is wonderful. Charlotte Tilbury, when it comes to her bronzer products, she knows how to balance that contour with the bronzer. Where it's a 2-in-1. You don't need two separate products, but you can use two separate products if you want. It's a very, kind of, you can do whatever suits you, what you want to do. But this is just gonna be more my method of doing things. Let's start with the contour. I'm gonna go ahead and get that on. Like I said, I like to go for something a little more shadowy. So it could be the cream from the Patrick Ta, which I have hit quite a pan on. The Fenty Amber cream contours, the really long name with this too. Freestyle cream bronzer, Cheeks Out Freestyle cream bronzer in 01 Amber. And this also is available in a stick if you find that method or that format a little easier to work with. I believe Anastasia Beverly Hills also makes a really nice shade. Now when it comes to selecting these shades, it is going to kind of come down to your undertones, your skin tone, all of that, to find what suits you the best. And that's something that's really hard for me to explain to you how to do. That's more, you're going to have to just kind of play and sample things and try. Maybe have someone else in person match you. Maybe try to find somebody online, a YouTuber that has a similar undertone skin tone to you to help you put you in the right direction of a shade. I can only really speak for the ghostly girls and demo that, the fair skin gals out here, and use stuff that is in that more taupey shadowy range and demonstrate that. I'm going to use the Halo Glow today. And I really enjoy these liquid products like this for underpainting because they're so thin. So it's the more taupey one. I'm going to use this one today because it is actually one of the more accessible, affordable products of all of this. So just to kind of show you don't have to spend a lot of money. These come in about the $8 price range, I believe. And we can use an e.l.f. brush to apply it. So what I like to do with these is maybe squeeze a little tiny bit up onto this part. I don't like to go directly in. And I take the e.l.f. Dual Complexion brush and I take the small side, dab a little bit onto there. And I'm going to use less is more today since we are doing this over foundation. If I'm underpainting, I go a little more heavy with it because I have the grace of the foundation going over top. So anyway, take a little bit on the tip of this brush and I'm going to start like right here above my ear and just kind of follow my natural shadow right here. I don't want to bring it too much further in because it will kind of drag my face down. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to age myself. So I like to kind of keep it further back and right up here about to the corner of my eye. It's about as far in as I would like to go with it. And I don't really want to emphasize this too much. Occasionally I do if I'm going for a specific look. Like doing like a super goth look or something like that. But this is just more general application of what I do. And then I take the fluffy side and I just pounce and kind of come up a little bit with it by pulling up slightly and going in this direction. You're going to give yourself a little more lift. I don't want to blend down because it's going to just pull everything down a little bit. But you can see how that adds just that little more shape and structure to the jaw or to the cheekbone. Makes this part look a little bigger and this part a little smaller. Therefore, emphasizing the cheekbone. And depending on your face shape, if you have a bit more rounder, kind of apple cheek, I guess that's what you would call that, like Chrissy Teigen type cheeks, you can definitely hug that and it looks so cute to pull it in that like this and come in this way. That doesn't work on my bone structure because I don't have that type of cheek naturally. So it just looks like I have a little bit of a brown smudge there or something. My pupper is talking to me. I can't help you right now. I don't know what you want. Go sit in your little bed. We have been playing all day. Go get in your little bed. Go have a sit. Go sit down. It's in your little bed. Yeah, look in your little bed. Word of warning though with these, work quickly because they do dry down, which gives incredible staying power. And you don't have to worry about them fading as much, which is a really nice thing about these. I'm particularly speaking on the e.l.f. ones because I enjoy the shade range from them the most. A lot of brands have products like this now, but the e.l.f. ones have the most, to me, best contouring bronzing shades. They have the most nuanced shade range. A lot of the other ones just seem a little bit more generic bronzer tone. And some of them look really, really warm. Like the Physicians Formula one. The Milani one also is quite warm. Which is fine if you're just looking for bronze. But speaking on the contour side of things. But I just like to make sure that is worked into the skin really well. Not just follow this natural shape and let it diffuse. And there we go. And I don't know if you can really see that much of a difference. But this side of the face is definitely more, just a little more structured. Again, I'm not trying to change my face. I'm just bringing some structure back after the foundation. Because sometimes when you go in with your foundation, it just kind of flattens everything out because it makes it all like one color. All right, and now when we get to the jawline, same technique of coming off of here, just using a small amount of product and slowly adding as needed. And I like to just do this and start right here at the back by my ear and pull down. And you can kind of fill in right here where you might want to. I just like to kind of sharpen this up a little bit and minimize my jawbone a little because it is quite full from just large muscle there. And then I just can blend like this along the jawbone itself. And then make sure it blends down. Because it just makes a little bit more of a sharper jawline. I personally, it's just something I find attractive and like to go for. It's up to you. You don't have to do any of this. I'm not trying to make my face look skinny or anything like that. Just want to minimize that dang muscle there. I'll take a little bit more right here. So get that little waddle that we all have. There's nothing wrong with it. I just want to minimize it. So I'm just going to do the one side so you maybe see a little bit of a difference. And of course you can add and build as needed. I would say just work on a less is more method and then work up from there. It's easier to add product than take away. All right, and then I'm gonna take a little bit just here at the corner of the eye, like right at the temple here. And this just gives a nice bit of lift to this part of the face. And again, emphasizes the cheekbone a little more, because those are parts that I want to emphasize. And kind of minimizes my big ass brow bone a little. And then soften out. The tip of the nose, a little bit underneath. And a little bit coming from the inner part of my brow. And just straight down the side. Not really trying to make my nose smaller or anything like that. Just making sure, just kind of just bringing back the shape. All right, so here's what it looks like on the one side versus the other. And that is just adding that little bit of structure back in. You can also, of course, contour the lips a little bit. I don't bother with that because I'm just going to use lip liner and lipstick anyway, but you could take a little bit just under here. It can make the lip look a little fuller because it looks like there's a shadow of like volume coming from the lip. All right, I'm going to do this on the other side. Even things out. And if you have trouble like finding your cheekbone, just do the kissy face or the fishy face, whatever you want to call it, and just feel like right in here where it divots in. And that's where you can place your contour as a general guide. I do have this weird little patch you might notice right here where it looks lighter. That is just a patch of skin I have that has zero pigment to it. And so it always looks like there's a patch missing. It's just a different color than the rest of my face. I guess it's like a, I don't know what that is. It doesn't have pigment in the skin in that one spot. So it always makes things look kind of funny and not blended. I have it on both sides. It's just worse on that side. It's really noticeable when my face flushes because those two spots don't flush at all. Like they have zero color to them. And the rest of my face will be like cherry red. It's less prominent on this side as it is on that side. It's also nice to, you can bring a little bit of this through the socket. It can really help kind of get your eyeshadow started. That's something I do if I'm doing my face makeup first. I'll do that. Okay, before I move on, I'm going to take my sponge that I applied my foundation with and give everything a little tippy tap around the edges, and that kind of makes sure everything is blended in and there's no harsh lines or anything like that. It gives you a little bit of grace there. Okay. Oh, I didn't contour the other side of my nose. Something looked kind of funny. All right, now we can go on to bronzing. Now the bronzing is literally just to bring warmth back into the skin. I'm not using it to add structure, but as I said, you definitely can do that. And it just gives a little bit of a softer effect. It's less like full on. So I do both. It depends on the mood, the look that I'm going for. But today we're really focusing on the various steps. So my favorite for straight up bronzing is the e.l.f. Halo Wand. And this one is in light medium. You can see it's much warmer compared to the fair light one. And it makes a great bronzer on me. The Milani Cream Bronzer, the Cheek Kiss in Hey Honey. Fabulous, fabulous cream bronzer right here. Great dupe of the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Sun Kiss Glow Bronzer. Just saying. e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. Fantastic bronzing product. Love it to death. And I do believe online you can get this in that shadowy tone like this. It's just really hard to find in store, but I've seen it online before. But this you can get it everywhere e.l.f. is sold. They have these. Of course, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Sun Kiss Glow Bronzer actually uses shade medium. And it's very effective and gives my skin a lot of really good warmth. And like I actually go out in the sun. This is when I'll go for if I'm looking for a little bit more of that sun-kissed tan look. That is not something I have naturally. Which I am not somebody who can tan at all. I burn and just get freckles. So it's usually, if you see me looking slightly tan, it comes straight from a bottle. And it's this. Like I put this on the body everywhere. It's wonderful for that. Of course, there are various other bronzers I enjoy. One of my number one favorites has been my favorite since it came out. The Hourglass bronzer in Luminous Bronze Light. Such a stunning, stunning bronzing product. Again, the Charlotte Tilbury Film Store Bronze and Glow is great. And it can kind of work double duty, giving the bronze and a little bit of structure. The bronzer in the Patrick Ta, beautiful. Charlotte Tilbury is just amazing bronzers. Like in Glowgasm, there's this wonderful, very, very lightly pigmented bronzer in here. It looks deep in the pan, but it is such a soft kiss of warmth. It is one of the most fair skin friendly bronzers on the market. And then Nudegasm, if you can get your hands on it, is wonderful because it does have a little bit of more of a contour and bronze within, and you can actually use it for structure and bronzing. Very effective, very, very good sculpting palette right here. Milani also has one of the ones similar to Charlotte and e.l.f. in this, and this is also, I believe, in the shade Hey Honey, or no, this one's just in the shade Honey. And this is what they call liquid contour. This is liquid bronze for sure on me. Not as effective for contouring. It's a little bit cooler than light medium from e.l.f., but it's still pretty warm on my skin tone. If you have a little bit of a deeper skin tone or different undertone than me, these would definitely be more contouring on you. That is a thing, is it really does depend on your skin tone what's going to look more suited as a contour versus a bronze. It just how it is. So for today, for the bronzing portion, for a cream bronzer, I am going to use the Milani one just to show you that and show you kind of a different product. But this is a wonderful cream bronzer. Very, very similar to the Beautiful Skin Sun Kissed Glow bronzer. Like, so very similar. This is the lightest shade of the Milani, and this is the second to lightest shade in Charlotte Tilbury. I would like to get the lightest shade of the Charlotte Tilbury because I've heard it does make quite an effective bronzer because it has a little bit more coolness in it. When I purchased it, it was just out of stock, and I ended up with the medium one and just kind of forgot about buying the other one because it's like I don't really need it. So anyway, great dupe right here though from Milani. Very similar formula. It just doesn't have kind of the same like skincare effects or particular claims that the Charlotte one does. The Charlotte one has a really unique formula as far as the ingredients go that I don't believe the Milani quite has, but the Milani one does have some interesting callouts as well that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I remember making the slide for a video and thinking, oh, I didn't know that was in there. Very cool. So anyway, now we're going to take the fluffy side of the little dual complexion brush and you can just kind of clean it off on a little towel. And we take a little bit of the cream contour here. And I kind of work a little bit off on my palm or something, or back of my hand, whatever. And this I take on the forehead up here. And this will give a little structure to my forehead, obviously, too. And a little bit of curve to it because I have a very flat forehead. It doesn't have that nice round curve, which I love. And this kind of gives it a little bit more of that look. And I just tap a little bit right at the hairline. If you have blonde hair, bleach blonde, this can be a little finicky. Be cautious at the little baby hairs because it will look a little funny. I've definitely done that before. And that just gives me a little bit of a sun-kissed kind of healthy look, like I actually see sunshine. And it's subtle. It's not a ton. It's not like super orange. It just gives a hint of beautiful warmth. And I also do take this on the cheek as well, even when I've contoured. I'll take it just a little bit higher and like where the sun would hit on my face. Then we get the best of both worlds. Again, you don't have to do both steps. You could totally just use the bronzer and be set, or just the contour, whatever suits you. I personally like doing both. But I'm somebody who will take the time to do that. But if you don't want to fool with doing two different products, that's where something like the Film Star Bronze and Glow or the Patrick Ta can definitely come in handy. Something that can offer the more of the bronzing effect. But I just like to put a little bit of this. Like, I mean, I'm using such light amounts. Look how much I take off on my palm. You can re-dip on product off the palm as well. And this just gives that little bit of a sun-kissed effect of where you would naturally get sun on your face. Like without foundation on, I definitely have some sun damage right here. That's where sun hits me the most, is the tops of my cheekbones. Not so much on my forehead, but definitely right there. I have that kind of like melasma, is that what that's called? When you have the sun damage here? I can't remember if that's what that's called or not. I have like obvious sun damage there and freckles and stuff. So that's the most prominent area of my face and the top of my nose. So just took a little bit here onto the nose. And all of this is going to get toned down a little bit because we will go in with some concealer after the fact when we get to our highlighting step. And I know this seems super excessive and like a lot right now, like it's taking a long time, but it's because I'm sitting here talking through it. This is really something I can kind of get through pretty quickly if I'm just doing this for myself. You can also take the small side here, get a little bit right here. I think bringing a little warmth right out here on the face can look really nice on the outer part of the eye. Because again, that's somewhere the sun would hit. Like right up there. And generally just kind of around the perimeter of the face. I'll bring a little bit like right there. Right there. A little on the ears. And you can bring a little bit onto your chest and neck if you're going for a little bit more of a sun-kissed effect. Blush. Blush would be kind of the next step in this, and blush can also add beautiful structure to the face, and you don't have to contour bronze at all. You can really use your blush for all that and get a structured look to the face. No problems depending on your placement of blush. Blush placement is a whole nother thing. You can do apples of the cheeks to kind of bring more rosiness here. You can do the placement a little bit further back for a little bit more of a structured look and kind of that draping technique. You can use multiple shades of blush to create a contoured effect. I love it so much, and there are some really lovely palettes you can use for that. Today we're just going to keep it kind of simple by using a blush shade just kind of right back here where I like to place my blush on my bone structure, which would be in this part right here. I don't like to bring it down too far. I like to keep it pretty high and almost where we place that bronzer and up here on the top of the cheekbone for right now. And then when I go in with the concealer and everything, it'll kind of tone it all down and make it more cohesive. So for blush today, I'm just going to grab a cream one. I think we'll go with just a nice pink blush for today. I'm going to use one of the e.l.f. Putty blushes. And this is in the shade Tahini. It's just a really nice, soft, kind of pink color. And I'm going to clean off the same brush. I like to stick with the same brushes. I don't care to dirty up a million brushes for one look. We'll take a little bit of this. Any cream blush. You can use lipstick for this part. A cream lipstick. Especially like this Revlon Super Lustrous is. I'm just saying they make great blushes. Alright, and put a little bit on the brush, tap a bit off. Something like the Patrick Ta blush, blush, cream blush, powder blush duo is good for this step as well. And I'm just going to tap it here because it is all part of adding that structure to the face. This is just where I prefer to put my blush. You can definitely bring it wherever you want that you feel like suits you. That is all up to you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just showing you what I like to do and give you some ideas and inspiration. Nothing I say is ever definitive unless I tell you it is. Sometimes I have a definitive statement on stuff, but it's very rare. And most of the time it has nothing to do with makeup when I do. Makeup is art. It is self-expression. It is something for you and no one else, in my opinion. That is a definitive statement there. Your makeup's for you. And I don't care what anybody has to say about that. I know there's been a little debate about that on the Twitters, or X rather, about who women do makeup for. I'm not doing it for other women or men. I'm doing it for me. Because it's my face. Alright, and yeah, this is where I like to kind of place my blush though. Let's wrap that little TED Talk up. I like to bring it around here in kind of a bit of a C shape. And then when I go with the concealer, it's going to bring back the highlights where I want them. But having the blush underneath, I think, just looks really pretty. Yeah, just dib-dabbing a little bit on, letting it diffuse as it comes in. I don't like to let anything come past about the outer part of my iris, I guess you could say. I don't know. I just kind of wing it and do what feels right. But if I was going to use a measurement, it would be about here. And you can take some on the nose. That's a great trick to make it look like you're not wearing makeup, is having a little bit of blushiness on the nose. Just saying. Also, you could use a shimmery product for this, like a glowy blush. Something like that. e.l.f. has really pretty glowy ones, as well as Charlotte Tilbury. They can look beautiful in this method because it'll add that little bit glow to the cheeks without being too much if you don't want to highlight. If you want to do liquid highlighter, now would be the time, in my opinion, to go ahead and throw some of that on. and just kind of softly blend that in. I'm going to skip the cream or liquid highlight today. And the highlight that I'm going to be talking about today is concealer. Is in a matte highlight. Some of my favorites for the liquid highlighting, or for the matte highlighting concealing step, are the Instant Aging one from Maybelline in the brightening shade. It's that kind of light pinkish one. I love this one for this part of the look because we're just adding lightness and brightness right here and pulling forward. The point of the highlighting step in this way, when I'm speaking of a matte highlighter, which is usually going to be like a concealing product, it is to bring something forward, to lift it, to brighten it, and to make it a little bit bigger. The contours for minimizing, the highlighters for maximizing. So I would like to generally place these in the high points of the face. So anyway, the Adrian Wine Brightener shade is one of my absolute favorites for this. A concealer that's just in a lighter shade can work great. Just something to add a little lightness and brightness. We're not talking about skin tone concealer that you would use for like pinpoint concealing or correcting a blemish on the face. We're talking about something a couple of steps lighter than your natural skin tone to bring forward. So something a little bit of a lighter shade. The Halo 4-in-1 Healthy Glow Perfector from Smashbox. I have this in the lightest shade and it works beautifully just to bring a little light to certain areas and just pull them forward. But yeah, this is something very similar to like Touche Éclat from YSL. It's, not super ton of coverage. It's more, I use it in a brightening capacity, as well as the Eye Bright from Makeup Revolution. Really nice kind of dupe of this. And this one has a sponge, this one has a little brush. So for today, since we are sticking with that drugstore kind of theme with this, I'm going to use the Maybelline Brightening Adrian Wine. Now, if I was just doing my regular concealing, which we will do as well, I would go something a little bit closer to my skin tone, but still a little bit lighter, which would be something like these two here that match me a little bit better. This is more going to go in those certain spots in a certain placement on the face. This isn't just for my concealer alone, even though on me the brightener kind of can work in that capacity because I am that pale. All right, so I'm going to grab a little brush, and I don't like using the sponge on my face. I don't like it. I'm going to take a little bit like so on a brush, and that way we don't over apply either. And I'm going to place this in the areas that I want to brighten, lift, pull forward, as in right here, because I do have a divot and hollow from just my bone structure. Like, I don't have a pigmentation issue with dark circles. I have more just a shadowiness from the shape of my face, because this bone here is very prominent. So what I like to do is take the brightening shade and work it right here against the nose a little bit, up to almost like where we contoured, and just pat that right there. And you see how that just brightens that up and kind of pulls it forward and makes it look a little flatter. That's what I'm going for right there. Because that's just something I like to correct to myself, because it makes me look less tired. Makes me look a little more awake. And do bring a little bit on the lid. If I've not already done my eyeshadow, I'll bring a little bit right here. But I'm not doing this for coverage necessarily. It's more just for that brightening effect. And a little bit right out here at the corner of the eye. And let that just diffuse up and blend onto the cheekbone a little bit. And that gives it that more lifted look right out here. I think that Bella Hadid cheekbone. Oh, her cheekbones. I love them so much. I actually think Bella Hadid is one of the most beautiful people ever. So don't mind me wanting to look like her a little bit. Alright, and just patting a little bit of that in. I'm using very small amounts for all of this, by the way. But you can see the difference that made. That just gives lift, kind of flattens it out, minimizes that darkness I had there, and just pulls it forward, and really just gives more structure and more life back to that side. And I'm working in very, very thin layers because I don't want a ton of product built up under my eyes. And you could pick whatever shade you think suits your under eyes. A lot of people, more of a yellowy tone can be more suited depending on your undertones. You could use, your peachy corrector at this point as well for dark circles. Just whatever suits you the best. But this is kind of what works for my skin tone and my face shape. And a little bit just right here underneath the eyebrow can look really nice and give some lift to the eye. And I have like a pretty prominent blue vein on the outer corners of my eyes, and this kind of helps conceal that as well. And add some brightness and light right there, because that is a bit of a darker, kind of shadowy spot, and I tend to have a lot of redness right out here. And that's somewhere that would more so need color correcting on me rather than the inner part. But yeah. Now, I'm not great with the color correcting for dark circles because I don't have them too much as far as like needing actual pigmentation correction. Somebody who has wonderful videos on how to correct under eye discoloration, dark circles, and all that is Alex Anele. I will link her in the eye. She has some of the most in-depth, amazing videos for anything and all things under eye. And olive skin tone, fair olive skin tones, because that is another, I think, segment of the skin tone population that doesn't get catered to as much is the fair olive side of things. So she has wonderful videos on that. She also has some great contouring videos too. That's where I got the tip of just putting the bronzer on the forehead. I would have never thought to do that. So that's all her, actually. Now, for actual concealing, I'm going to take the NYX Bear With Me, which is much closer to my skin tone, but a little hair lighter. And I'm going to use this for my actual concealing because the brightener step is more just color correcting and brightening. So I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of this. And I don't always do both brightening and concealing, but we're just kind of doing all the steps. If you don't want to fool with any kind of under eye correction or brightening, just go straight in with your concealer that is maybe like a shade lighter than your skin tone or your skin tone. Just depends on what you want to do and what you like. I personally like that little bit of lighter tone under there. And I'm going to take this just right where I might want a little extra coverage and concealing, kind of tapping over that a little bit, but not a ton. This is more just to brighten everything up and add a little bit of coverage and concealing. I kind of like layering the two. I just want this area to look a little bit flatter. And I tend to have a redness that comes through right here. So I like to build up coverage right there a little bit. And this thing just going to kind of diffuse down towards that blush and everything else. And a little bit right here into the smile lines and around the nostrils. Very thin layer at the smile lines. You don't want to put a lot of product there because it will crease. That's just part of it. Just a tiny bit on the chin because that's where I tend to get redness coming through. And kind of want, a little highlighting. Sometimes I come right here with a little bit of the concealer as well. Just under the contour because I can add a really nice, bit more snatched effect. But at the same time, I don't want to emphasize how big this part of my face is, so I don't put a ton there. Just a little bit. And I'm using kind of a flat, fluffy-ish brush for all this part. I like to use that shape for when it comes to my concealing. Again, using very small amounts of product in stippling motions for the most part. and very soft, kind of diffusing swipes. Very gentle, barely touching my face. Around the anywhere that has a little bit of darkness on my face or might need a little concealing. Kind of like around the mouth there. And I'm doing the most today in the more full glam version of everything. So you can edit out what you need and what you don't need and kind of give you the full picture of what you can do. And just take out what you don't want to fool with and mess with, because I certainly don't do all this every single day. A little bit of the concealer here that is just one shade lighter than my skin tone. Just right here in the center of the forehead. I'm going to diffuse that out and down the tip of the center of the nose. Back to your little sponge. Back to my little sponge anyway. I'm just going to tap over everything and make sure it's just diffusing into the skin. We can pick up any excess product with this as well. And just kind of make sure everything is merging into one. And we're nice and seamless. And there we go. Cream portion is done. I'm going to set all this down with a bit of powder. On the under eyes, I like to use the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder. And then something a little more matte on the rest of the face. You can use a brightening powder under the eye, something like the Prism Leave or e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder in the light pink, just to set the under eyes. I actually really like to do that. I don't have the light pink of the e.l.f. Halo Glow at the moment, so I'm going to use the shade Light because that's what I got, and it works just as well. It's just a little bit more on that yellow side of things. I prefer a pink undertone, and make sure there's no creasing as well. And just get right in there and get that set. Just be sure to tap out any creasing before you do this. And just get that little under eye area locked in. There's something really beautiful about the e.l.f. Halo Glow under the eyes. It just gives this soft, radiant look, but it's not glowy. It's not like a highlighter. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally love it. And I was really happy to see Alex and Ellie using this powder for under eyes. Because I'm like, yes, it's so good. And I never see anybody else doing that. I feel like nobody talks about this powder. It's wonderful. I can't tell you if it's like the Prism Leave because I haven't tried that. It is currently in my cart from YSL though. And I'll just take a little bit of this across the lid also just to set that down. Because I have very oily eyelids and under eyes. So all this does need to be quite well set on me. My eye area gets oily. This part of my face gets oily. My chin and jawline gets super oily. My forehead, not so much. I mean, it gets moderately oily, but nothing like the rest of my face does. But this is such a blurring powder with that glow. Oh, I love it. I love the finish it gives. All right, and then for the rest of the face, I just take a regular old setting powder, whatever suits you. Another powder I really enjoy for under the eyes and all over the face is the Maybelline Fit Me powder. That's a great option. And if we're talking high-end, the By Terry powder, Anastasia Beverly Hills setting powder, they're all phenomenal. Great choices there. There's so many wonderful powders that it's just an endless buffet of choices. So for the rest of the face, I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution IRL powder today because I love it. It is such a good setting powder. So I'm tap a little bit out and I'm going to take a poof. This is from Sonia Kashuk. I load the little poof up, knock off some of it on the back of my hand, kind of work it in there good. And I take it right here in a pressing motion. And up to about right there. A little bit might get my under eye area. It happens. and just down the T-zone. And it just makes everything look so smooth. I love this powder. It's very, very good. I'm not too big into baking or anything like that. Like, I don't put an excessive amount of powder on. I just put enough to get everything set down. So I'm just gonna do just a nice little layer. And you can use your powder to kind of carve out under the cheekbones if you want to, in a little bit of a baking way by taking it and just swiping it here. I just pat a little there just because it gets oily on me more than anything. I don't particularly carve it out and do all of that. Occasionally, I'll do what I call a quick little brulee rather than a bake. Or like a little air fry, if you will. Alright, and then I'm just going to take a fluffy brush and do a light dusting over the rest of the face. Again, because I get oily like right in here. And I need to set it down just a bit. That tends to be where I lose coverage and have any potential issues. It's going to be around the mouth region, chin, and jaw area. Now you're sufficiently powdered. I'm going to use a little bit of powder bronzer to set over where we've contoured. If you don't want to use a cream bronzer as well, you could definitely just use the cream contour step or your liquid contour or whatever, and then take the bronzer over top the way you would with like the Patrick Ta. Beautiful effect that way. Or if you're like me, just kind of do all the steps. Here we are. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a drugstore bronzer. Just plain bronzer. All I have is cream ones. So I'm gonna have to jump into a high-end one from this. I know I have Physicians Formula 1 someplace in a palette, but I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere. So we're gonna just use this one from Glowgasm right here. It's just a nice, very, very soft bronze. But yeah, there's a lot of nice powder bronzers from the drugstore. I'm just gonna take it kind of on a, this is an e.l.f. Flawless Face Brush, I believe what it's called. I'll link the brushes that I used today below, as well as all the other products and some recommendations and things I like. I'm going to take a little bit of that bronzer, and this bronzer has a slight glow to it. And I'm just going to tap a little bit right up here just to kind of set over and reinforce where we bronzed. And this gives longevity. Layering the products like this is where you get your longevity from. You don't have to do it, but if you want some longevity from your products, here's how you get it. So they last all day on your face. Just working in thin layers. And I'm just going to apply this just where I bronzed before. Just kind of set all that down. Well, not really set it because I already set with powder, but you get what I mean. Something about the layering of the cream and powder I think just looks really pretty. And yeah, just kind of a nice soft broad application with this because it's such a soft bronzer. You can kind of get away with going a little more loosey-goosey with it. If you're using one that is a bit more pigmented, lighter hand. Now for blush, for a powder blush, I'm going to try to find one that kind of matches what we already have on the face here. I think I'm going to go with the CoverGirl blush in Soft Sable. No. Yeah, Soft Mink. This is one of their classic color blushes. Soft Mink. Just a really pretty, nice blush color. Kind of a nudie blush. I'm going to use the same brush I used for my bronzer. I'm just going to clean it off on a towel that sits on the arm of my chair. I always keep towels on the arm of my chair. I swap them out every couple of days, and I use that to just wipe my brushes off on. Or my pants leg. Most of the time, it's my pants leg. I always do this. I always try to take the excess off my brush. I don't want to put too much on. And just kind of just pick it up a little bit. Not trying to overload the brush. So lighter hand, add as you need. And I know a lot of people talk about their blush and bronzer fading throughout the day. And this is a good way to mitigate that is by layering the cream and the powder. I just pick kind of similar tones. Like my blush won't be an exact match for the cream powder underneath, but if they're close enough, it's fine. And sometimes having that little bit of differences in colors creates a really pretty color. You know, just have fun with it. Have fun with it. And again, you can just use blush to get all the structure you need as well. I just like to take a little bit right here. And I think it's also quite pretty to have whatever's left on your brush when it comes to the blush. A little bit on the forehead, a little on the nose, a little around, just so it's not just on your cheeks and it looks a little more natural, if you get what I'm saying. It just kind of gives a illusion of being a little more natural. Okay, and if you want to at this point, a little powder highlight, never hurt anybody. So I'm going to take this one from e.l.f. This is one of their metallic flare highlighters. I don't know if these are available anymore. That's another thing I need is some more drugstore powder highlighters because they all seem to have gotten discontinued. And I just haven't bought one in a long time. So this is just a generic champagne highlighter. There's nothing really special about it or outside the box that you couldn't get from a million brands. But I will link it if I can find it down below because it is a pretty highlight. And it's weird that it's kind of hard to find because it's very nice. So I'm just going to take a little highlighting brush. Again, also from e.l.f. I enjoy e.l.f. face brushes, by the way. I absolutely love their face brushes. Their eye brushes, meh. Face brushes, though, especially these dual fiber ones, wonderful brushes. I know that everybody's like, oh, you gotta put all the money in the brushes. You don't. You can achieve amazing makeup results with the cheapest brushes. And it'd be fine. You do not have to spend Sonia G prices on your brushes or Refer. You don't have to. The most expensive I go with my brushes is Sigma. And you can get some great sales from Sigma. Sonia Kashuk, Target. Okay, so then we take a little bit of my shimmery highlight or my more metallic glowy highlight. I don't like super glittery highlights. I've become one of those really like the more wet, just glossy highlight look. And just take a little bit right here. Tops of the cheekbones. A little bit on the brow bone. A little bit right here. Strategic glow. And if you have maybe some little lines right here, we all do, just kind of, you don't have to highlight there if you don't want to. You can just keep it to the apple of the cheek. The center of the face right here can be a very beautiful look as well. You don't have to put the highlighter up here. Girl, I'm just doing it while I can before I get the wrinkles there. Because I know I'm not always going to be able to do that. There are some beautiful liquid highlighters that I think look fantastic on more mature skin, like the Film Star, like Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury. That is a very graceful highlighting product that you can use as a highlighter in strategic places and it not emphasize anything. So I'm using just a small amount of this highlighter and just tapping a little bit on, keeping it soft, a little bit down the nose. I like just a touch right there with the tip. I like a little bit between my eyebrows. I like a little bit right here on the bridge. I think that looks really nice on me because it brings a little bit of light there because that is a bit of a shadowy spot on me. And I like a little bit right here on the forehead. And you can always do, of course, a little in the inner corners or whatever, inner corner of the eye or whatever. I usually reserve that for eyeshadow. What you can do to make sure everything is looking seamless and blended is take a finishing powder. It could be the e.l.f. Flawless, the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder. Honestly, it makes a wonderful finishing powder over top of everything because it can help everything look kind of just blurred together and buffed together and look seamless. Why did I put it back up? I don't know. Or like Hourglass Ambient Lighting powder at this point can be phenomenal. Yeah, Hourglass for like a brightening under eye powder as well. Some of the, like this one, I think this is Dim Light. No, Diffuse Light. That could be a wonderful powder for under the eye for brightening. The shade Light from e.l.f. is very similar in the Halo Glow. Like basically a dupe, just one of them's a loose product. But you could take a little bit of this, something like that, just any kind of soft powder on your powder brush. Pick up a little bit. And dust over everything. And it can give a very, just very lightly, mind you, very soft brush. And can just ensure everything is looking blended and smooth and perfected and glowy. Like a really nice soft glow. But it can get rid of any harshness. That it just gives a really nice diffused filtered effect. Just a bonus tip there. You don't have to do this. But to me, it just makes everything look very buffed in and polished and seamless. I like everything to look very seamless. Alright, and we're back with the look complete. And I just throw on kind of a soft taupey eye to tie in. That's taupe from ColourPop. And the lips is Times Square from ColourPop, I believe. So yeah, here we are. So that is pretty much my contour, highlighting, blush, bronzing tips and tricks and how I like to do it. Again, I wanted to show you the full everything, every little step, so you can edit out and choose what suits you, maybe get some ideas and some things to try out on your own. There's no definitive way to do this. This is all very subjective to your face and your bone structure, your undertones, what you like in makeup, your tastes, preferences, all of that. That is all up to you. There is no right and wrong as far as this goes. So yeah, I hope that this video was helpful for you. Comments, questions, concerns, all that jazz, drop it in the comments. And if you want to see a video maybe just devoted to contouring with blush alone and how to bronzer specifically, drop that in the comments. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, because I can definitely do that. Those are techniques I like to do for the more day-to-day makeup. And I also want to mention that there's some wonderful face palettes that are kind of all-encompassing that can take a lot of the guesswork out of things. Like I said, I mean, the Patrick Ta Contour Bronze Duos takes a lot of the guesswork out of it and kind of just gives you what you need to accomplish a look. But there's so many wonderful face palettes out there that can make it just a little more streamlined, so you don't have to source separate bronzers, separate contours, and all of this, and have to figure it out so much. Again, I will list and link everything I used in my face today in the description box, as well as some recommendation products that I think are wonderful for contouring and bronzing and highlighting kind of thing. So yeah, that is all for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and stay a little bit spooky. Bye now.